MLS Aces Podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy. This is episode 296, once again, with the biggest Xherdan Shaqiri fan in the world, Jason Vivang. Jason, how are you, buddy?
That was unnecessary as a lead-in, but, hey, I just saw him score a goal, so that was fun. He's putting in effort. We know it's doable. Good thing when he comes back to the Fire, I'm going to see that same effort.
I don't think this man's coming back to.
Yeah, I actually texted my friends. I said, just leave it. Just stay in Europe after the Euros, please.
That was it, right? Just go play for what's the sister club in Switzerland?
I should know this.
Lugano.
Yeah, Lugano.
Just go play for Lugano. Go enjoy it there. Open up a DP spot. That's it. But Jason, you did hit it on the head here. Copa America and the Euros are all going on by the time this episode comes out.
Well, sort of.
Copa America starts
tomorrow night. So realistically, probably will be after this episode comes
The day that this episode comes out, Copa America is going on. Is that fair?
Yeah.
So Euros have been going on. Euros have been fun. A lot of crazy games already. I don't think we've seen too much of a major upset yet, but I think some of the favorites haven't been playing.
Belgium losing was probably an upset, unless you've just been following Belgium for a while and they just good players, bad team.
Belgium is the definition of just it'll never work. That's it. It's just never gonna work. Their golden generation or whatever.
Oh man, that's the worst part. It's like, Belgian golden generation is just gone. It just 1-0.
I'm a big Lukaku guy though, so I can't say I can't say I'm not upset for him in terms of like international play, but the rest of Belgium I'm not too overly upset. They kind of kicked their ass in the World Cup too, so I'm okay with it. But let's kind of just quickly go through, because the Euros are going on. 8 MLS players did make European rosters this summer. I'm going to just roll through it. And Jason, I want you to tell me the player that you've been most excited to watch because games have been happening, or you're excited to continue to watch.
It's not Shaqiri.
You got Orlando City center back David Bracalo for Slovenia, attacking midfielder for the Union Daniel Gazdag for Hungary, striker Olivier Giroud for France and LAFC, winger Saba Lobjanalice for Georgia and for representing the state of Georgia, Atlanta United, winger Lewis Morgan for Scotland and the Red Bulls, goalkeeper Henrik Ravas for Slovakia and the New England Revolution, Shaqiri, your boy, for Switzerland and the Fire, and D-mid Bartosz Slić for Poland and Atlanta United. So if it's not Shaqiri, who are you most excited to see, or who has gotten some minutes that you're pumped for?
Well, I mean, I think Giroud was kind of obvious he was going to get minutes. I think I want to see Lewis Morgan get some minutes with Scotland, hopefully in the next game. I don't think he's gotten a single minute yet. The game is currently on, almost half. So maybe we see him today, but I think it'd be cool to see him play. Honestly, any player from MLS that's going to be on in the Euros, I'm excited for, especially like you're playing against, I don't know, France, Germany, Italy, Spain. Like those are massive clubs, and just seeing like MLS guys get on the field there is fun. But it's a little bit more rare than it.
For sure. At this point, I don't even really consider Giroud like an MLS guy, even if
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, Giroud, and then I was like, oh, wait,
forgot about that. Yeah, no, so whatever. Giroud for France, cool. Shaqiri for Switzerland, cool. Like again, I don't consider them like true MLS players.
I mean, Shaqiri is definitely like a full-on MLS player now. He's been there for 3 years, 4 years. But
has he actually played in MLS?
I mean, my point is, I'm not picking him that I'm excited about, because every single time he does well in this tournament, just disappoints me on how bad he's been for the Fire.
Fair enough. For me, I'm gonna go Slić for Poland and Atlanta United. I mean, he's a young Polish international. I think he came over with a pretty good reputation around him with the Poland national team and everything like that. So he's been pretty impressive for Atlanta in his first half a season in Major League Soccer. So I'm excited to see him. I feel like he could be a guy that even gets potentially moved on back to Europe. But it's fun. Euros are fun, right? And to the point that we started this entire episode with, Copa America also.
Yeah, we're gonna have Euros all day, Copa all night.
That's it. That's it.
And then we got MLS tonight if we're recording on Wednesday. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of soccer going on right now, which is fun.
Olympics, soccer summer.
It's summer of soccer. It's going to be every 4 years. It's just the summer of soccer. That's not the World Cup, but it's fine. It works. 40 MLS players have made Copa America rosters this summer. Also, one MLS Next Pro player as well. Three of those players are U.S. internationals. 14 are Canadian internationals. Copa America does kick off tomorrow night, Thursday the 20th, 8 p.m. Argentina, Canada, Messi versus Alphonso Davies. We all know Davies is going to take that one in the larger scheme of things. But Jason, is there a player? It doesn't have to be American, doesn't have to be Canadian, but is there a player in this kind of international window from the MLS perspective that you're like, I'm excited to see him show out in this American competition, the full American?
I would say there's not like a specific one, but I am interested in seeing how like the guys on Canada do. Like obviously we're pretty familiar with a lot of the Canadian MLS players. And for me, it's just where is Canada at? Obviously with Jesse Marsh now leading the team, you have Alphonso Davies, who, like we've said before, is, I don't even think it's arguable, but the best player in the region. In our region, right? Copa is obviously
in CONCACAF.
Yeah, in CONCACAF. We have to clarify that one. But for me, like, I just think seeing how they play against a lot better teams. Obviously, we saw some friendlies. I don't know. I personally don't take a massive amount away from friendlies, but they weren't like horrible. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see where they go, how it goes for Canada as a nation in the Copa.
Yeah, I think Canada might surprise people. Yes, I mean, look, we can talk about the
They're starting out against Argentina, so it's like tomorrow or tonight, if you're listening to this on Thursday, we will have Canada versus Argentina, which is a huge immediate test.
100%. You're going to see how this team's going to react to adversity from game one. And yes, I mean, you mentioned it, right? Canada had the 2 pre-Copa America friendlies. It was a 4-0 loss to the Netherlands. It was a 0-0 draw to France. I mean, not that the France draw was like amazing. France did have its opportunities, but you still got not that a point matters, but you got a result against a French team.
Friendly point.
A friendly point.
I think just when you go and do a like a real competition, everything is a little bit different. Like taking that 4-0 loss to Netherlands,
that was game one under Marsh too.
Right. And when you go down 2 goals in that scenario and it's a friendly and you have a huge tournament coming up, are you really putting in, full sprints? I don't know. But to me, it's like, I want to see like the test even for the U.S. as well, because I think I talked to a lot of people about the U.S. Obviously, first result against Colombia, which was met with expected criticism, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm like, it's just a friendly. Like Greg is first of all, I know I'm just hijacking this comment or whatever. But Greg is here through the Copa regardless of what these people want, okay? There's so many people who are like, Greg out. They're not firing him a week before Copa.
No.
And so just ride with it, support it. If it goes shitty in Copa America, he's gone. Like, that's just how it's going to go, You can't defend him after a major tournament and if it goes really poorly, especially if Canada does so well.
So I agree with all of that. Greg is the manager for the U.S. for Copa America. The Brazil game.
I mean, obviously now, right? They're playing Bolivia in like 3 days.
Yes, for sure. But the Brazil game was good. The Colombia game, god awful. Like that wasn't even. There's no other words.
Well, like after what, the 50th 5th minute or so. The
Literally.
wheels fell off.
Yes, and Timothy Weah just is carrying the team on his back through 2 performances. But the real question for me is here: do you legitimately think Greg Berhalter could potentially be let go if the U.S., let's say, fail to make it out of a group, let's say crash out, in that round right outside of the group stage? Like, do you think there's a legitimate shot? Because I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just like, I don't believe it's possible. I think Greg Berhalter is the dude for 2026. Not that I believe that, but I believe that U.S. soccer believes that.
I personally think that if we don't get out of the group, 100% he should be gone. Personally, I would say that. I think there's going to be a huge amount of people saying that, and I actually think the U.S. will fire him if they don't make it out of the group.
If they don't, I'll be.
It's Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia, right? Like, it's not. None of it's going to be easy, but it's a group that I think is definitely winnable or getting out. In that second spot. Obviously, Uruguay is going to be a tough test, but it is what it is. I think if we make it to the knockout round and we're like competitive, I don't actually know who we would be playing.
I'm not even trying to get to like that part where it's like if we make it out, whatever.
Well, in that case, I don't think he would get fired. Unless it's like a 7-0.
Yeah. Fair. I just think there's a chance we don't make it out of the group. It's not.
You don't think it's possible for the team to fire him or the federation? Basically.
I don't know. I'm starting to fall onto the Greg Berhalter out bus, van, train, whatever we want to call it. And I think that there's a legitimate shot that we don't make it out of the group and things could go poorly. Greg Berhalter's still on and you see an absolute just dumpster fire of things going on for the US.
I think on Sunday when they play Bolivia first, right?
Yes.
That's the biggest game, right?
That's the easiest game.
Panama though, like we've played them before. Like
we just lost to them July of last year.
Okay, my point. I'm not saying they'll get out of the group. I do think that he would get let go if they don't, just because there'd be a lot of noise around that.
In the last 4 games that the U.S. have played against Panama, yes, that's years ago at this point when we're looking back to 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023, we've lost 2 of those games. I mean, it's to a point where I'm like, Uruguay, South American, very good team. Panama, we don't have the best track record against. I think Bolivia we can handle. I'm not too worried about that, but it's to a point where if the mindset and the pressure
maybe it comes down to goal differential.
100%, or the energy that we saw against like a Colombia, if we bring that out there, we could get smoked by Uruguay. We could lose closely to Panama or draw against Panama, and I'm concerned. I do think there's a world where the U.S. we kill it and we look great, but I am concerned about this Copa America at this point.
I think, I'm not really on the Greg out necessarily. Like, people are probably going to be annoyed. But, my question is, I guess for you, who – obviously there's better managers, right? Like, nobody's questioning that he's not the best manager in the world. But who are we legitimately getting that might be better or get better results? Like, at some point it comes down to – the team, what I don't know. I guess my thing is Greg gets us to where that World Cup. I don't know. I didn't feel like Netherlands. I didn't feel like we were just rolled over against Netherlands. I thought there were a lot to take away from the World Cup.
Yeah,
that was positive. And it's I don't necessarily think that just getting rid of Greg is solving the problems. I think potentially you're in the same position again where everyone's get this guy out, get this guy out,
Look,
It's also a talent thing. Like I'll say it. I like this team. I love those guys, but like we're not the most talented team in the world.
No, we're not the most talented team in this competition by far as well. There's that. I'm just saying, and I'm not completely on the Greg Berhalter out train yet. I think if things continue to go with what we've seen, I'm definitely going to be falling on it sooner rather than later. But my thing is, if Canada somehow makes it out of their group, looks decent under Jesse Marsh, pulls up an upset victory over a Peru, over a Chile, something like that. I don't think it's going to happen with Argentina, but let's say it happens with Argentina. There's going to be plenty of U.S. fans saying, imagine if Jesse Marsh was the manager of the USMNT. It's inevitable to me that now the comparisons of Jesse Marsh and what he does with Canada is going to happen with the U.S. There with Greg, with their performances, with their results, and everything like that. I mean, I'm coming in super pessimistic, super negative about this one. I'm just trying not to get my hopes too much in saying that the U.S. are going to do well. I think there's a world where we do well, and it means everyone's kind of clicking on all cylinders, and I think it's possible. But I didn't see a lot of that when you look at the Colombia and the Brazil game.
Yeah, I think for me, like I tend to be pretty optimistic.
The yin and the yang, Jason.
I don't know. Like, I just at some point, like we just have to be realistic about expectations, and I think a lot of people aren't. Like, we're not winning the World Cup in 2 years or whatever. Is it 2, 3? I don't know.
2 years. 2 years.
Anymore.
How do you know?
I mean, I don't. But hey, you're the pessimistic one. It's being realistic, but also being excited, I guess, optimistic about what the team can do. Like the players themselves are really talented. Like we saw Pulisic like at the top of the league in Italy. We saw a bunch of people. We have a ton of players in top 5 leagues, but I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think we just have to see how it goes, and if it's really bad, then yeah, he probably won't be there very long. But maybe not.
I'll close out the international conversation here with just the question of where do you think a realistic finish for the U.S. is in this competition?
I think. I kind of want to know who they would play essentially if they finish second in the group, but I would say losing in the knockout round, first round, I would say is like par, like for a golf reference, like that's par. Anything past that is great. Anything worse than that, I would say is pretty bad.
What are we, Group C?
Yeah, so we'd play probably the winner of Group
D. So we would do the winner of Group D, which is looking
Brazil or Brazil, right?
Yeah, I would probably go.
There's another good team in that. I can't remember who. Oh, Colombia, I think, is in that.
It's Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, Costa Rica. So I would say it's Brazil, Colombia. Yeah, and the two teams that we had a nice, lovely
we just friendly played. Yeah. So I don't know. I think getting to the knockout round is, in not getting absolutely demolished by Colombia or Brazil, is sort of like my expectation.
Is it bad that it's not necessarily a bad thing. That's the wrong choice of words, but I'm at I need this team to make a quarterfinal for me to be happy.
I don't think it's necessarily bad. We just played Brazil. I felt like that game had a lot of good takeaways.
Yeah.
Drawing Brazil, essentially having a decent amount of chances in that game. Like it wasn't just defend. We kind of went at it. I don't know. It's tough. I think it's not unfair to expect that kind of big performance at this point. Now that we've had this this generation of the team for 5 years, 4 years now.
Yeah.
but I just don't know. I still think like par is that knockout round, first round.
My only reason why I don't want to put it there is because I feel like literally when I started this podcast back in 2017,
You would
I'm
have said the
talking
same thing practically.
I'm talking like 2018. What was it? 2018 or 2018 Copa America we were in, right?
We had to have talked.
Something like that. Whatever it is.
I was on it before that. I want to say.
So
No, it might have been 2018. I can't.
whatever it was, I can't think of the exact year. It doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is, it's a few years ago now where we're talking about a completely different group of U.S. players, and there's been a whole cycle, a new manager, a World Cup. These guys have been playing a shit ton of games together. And like you said, I was saying the same thing back then. Just make it out of the group and I'm happy. I'm kind of past the point of just make it out of the group and I'm happy. I said that, and this is no offense to Major League Soccer. I love it. I watch it. My favorite team's in it. I cover it on a podcast. It was a group of older players playing in Major League Soccer at that point. This is a group of young players who are not even in their prime technically yet, who are playing in top 5 leagues in the world. I feel like it's quarterfinal at least.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of persuaded me a little bit.
Let's go. I'll take it.
I do feel like you're right. Like the expectation has always been the same almost. Like the teams theoretically talent has improved, but it doesn't feel like the expectation has improved based on performances. And maybe that's where the Greg out crowd is right, man. Maybe that there's a new coach out there that actually can get these guys winning frequently against top teams. You know,
Give me Klopp. Give me Klopp.
There's still a reason we play the games, man. Like
Yeah.
I think anyone can beat anyone, and I don't know. I believe it. I think it's not always, you know, the more talented team that's winning, unless it's the Premier League. Oh no, wait, that's just the richer team.
Literally. But look, I think to me that's where it is I'm tired of just saying finish second in the group and make a knockout game and I'm happy. Like, this is a team that where I feel like we should be pushing for a quarterfinal now. In a few years, if we get invited back to a Copa America when everyone's legitimately in their prime at that point, I feel like that this should be a team that's pushing to win the competition, if you ask me. But you know, maybe my expectations and my hopes are too high. I'm not.
I mean, they've all said like that we're here to win, and then show it. You know, at this point, I think this is what the first major tournament since the World Cup. So, like, this is where we get to see improvements, and if there have been improvements.
Yeah, how this group under the same manager is taking a step forward, not taking a step sideways. That's where I'm at with it. So that's where
I think it feels like we've just been level, you know, the whole time. Yeah. It doesn't feel like there's these huge improvements. I think we've seen like the results versus, you know, top 20 teams in the country, in the world, versus like the back half or whatever. And it's like, oh wow, yeah, they always beat the crap teams, but you know, when the record against good teams is pretty bad.
We beat the crap teams and we beat Mexico. That's it, you know. Like it's
like the Mexico win. It's like they put all their eggs in that basket, and it's kind of working because people get really hyped about it. But it's like, all right, well,
we were doing this a decade ago, you know.
Yeah, like at this point, the Mexico win is kind of dropped off in its importance because of where the two teams have gone recently. But
yeah, I agree. We're at an interesting time where I think I'm going to wrap it up by just saying we need to start seeing improvement off of a World Cup. And I think, you know, if that doesn't happen, then I'm going to say the legitimate shouts for Berhalter out are fair. But if not, then I'm going to say no to that one.
I don't think like the Berhalter out thing, like it doesn't. I don't know if it's ever. Sometimes it's not fair, but like, I'm probably someone who hasn't gotten really into the Berhalter out yet. I think if this is a disaster, then yeah, like I'll be on board. But
That's where I'm at. I agree with you. I think that this competition is really going to sway me one way or another at this point in my USMNT fandom for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, that's it. We're done with
Too
US.
much. Too much.
We're done with Canada. I can sit here and say I hope the US win it all. And I can hopefully sit here and say Canada can surprise some people and make it out of the group for our friends up north. But let's dive back into the world of Major League Soccer. There is a lot of news. There's a lot of transfers, reports, all this stuff going on. I think first and foremost, though, let's start with the latest manager that has been fired from their MLS team, and Nico Estevez and FC Dallas have parted ways after about 2.5 seasons in charge. This season with Dallas, Estevez has led the team to a record of 3 wins, 5 draws, and 8 losses, sitting currently in 13th in the Western Conference and 27th overall in the league. In 98 games in charge of Dallas, and this counts all competitions, Estevez has a record of 35 wins, 29 draws, and 34 losses, so pretty even across the board for the most part. What did you make of the firing? Do you have any strong opinions either which way about the Estevez train with Dallas?
I think I went and opened up our preseason predictions because I think that in the context of that, it makes a lot of sense. Because I had FC Dallas up in 4th, you had them up in 5th finishing the season. They are currently in 12th in the conference.
Yep.
With a -5 goal differential. You brought in a major striker this offseason to, finally spend some money, lead the team to some success, and it has not worked. I think in that sense, this makes sense to me. As I don't love seeing people lose their jobs, but
Yes.
like at times it just kind of makes sense, and the results weren't there for the expectation, and that's just our expectations. In the greater MLS world, like FC Dallas wants to be competing, and them spending money on Musa kind of signified that this season they were going to try and make a push, and that push has been less of a push and more of a
I agree. It's a team that I think came into the season with higher expectations. It's a team that's always been somewhat consistently around the middle to the topper-esque part of the Western
even when they're
Conference.
in like that middle, there's so much to be like excited about with them, right? There's a lot of youth players that they've been able to build and give first team minutes and sell on, and it's like there's still excitement around them, even just being kind of in that middle tier, making the playoffs a little bit, sometimes on that edge. But here it's like you actually did spend money. You actually did go out and get a DP striker, and it's just not been near good enough. And for the Dallas team, like we said, like the expectations are pretty high to at least be competitive, and I don't think they've been very competitive.
No, I think you've seen noticeable steps back from Bernard Kamungo, from Siki Sabaling. I think you see noticeable steps back from a lot of guys. You see Petar Musa not clicking right away, which is like fine. You want to give him his window, but when you spend money like that, you do expect some production that hasn't really been there. Jesus Ferrara, I don't really think the production has been there, and I know he had his own off-season transfer saga with with Russia and everything like that. So there's a lot of just interesting things going on with this team. There's been a lot of injuries, so I don't want to really overly hold that against Nico Estevez. I don't think Nico Estevez is a bad manager. I think you're going to get like fine average results for the most part, though. I don't think he's the guy that's going to take you over the top to win a competition, to win a season, to win an MLS Cup or anything like that, where I do think maybe the signing of a Petar Musa and that kind of cash spend is a little bit of a indication into what Dallas is maybe trying to step into or trying to become. I just don't know if Estevez was the guy, so I'm okay with the firing, even though I do think Estevez did a lot of good down there for the most part. I mean, he made a Western Conference final, and not that it was an overly, I think, strong showing in that Western Conference final, but he's made a Western Conference final with this team. My concern, though, is if Dallas doesn't back up the like Musa signing with like going out in the equal sense and like making a little bit more of a splash from a managerial point of view. I don't need them to go out or to get, Jurgen Klopp or something like that, right? I just need them to
Jurgen Klopp
be,
managing Dallas would be like living in a different dimension.
we're living in a simulation, right? That's what people
Yeah.
say. But like, I don't need that level, but I just need like, don't just go get like whoever the assistant manager for the U.S. is right now. Like, go take a step forward. A guy who's been there, done that, who's led a team in a pretty decent league, or a pretty decent team that's
Or
kind of,
something like Minnesota.
yeah. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking a splash, but I mean, no shit. This is a no shit response here, but the splash has to work. Eric Ramsey, if he shits the bed, then everyone's gonna go, yeah, you got some assistant manager from Man United, and it didn't work. Like, it looks genius because it's working out. Dallas, go do your homework. Call this season.
I agree. You're right. Like, it does look really great because it's working, but I also don't think if it really didn't work, I'd be mad that they tried.
I'm not saying
There's a lot of worse ways to find a manager than pulling an assistant out of Manchester United.
Can I just say this though? This is Minnesota's second manager in club history. This is Dallas's how many seasons in the league? Different cases.
No, and where Dallas has been for how long they've been in the league, like it's just sort of like, okay, now when are you gonna win some trophies, right? Like you've made tons of money. We all see the transfers out, okay?
You're
But
producing talent, you know?
Now bring some transfers in and win. And that's what it started to feel like they were going to go for, and it hasn't worked. So I think that, it's not like this is like a rash decision either. That's what, 18 games into the season, 17. So
something like that.
18, 18, yeah.
It's not rash. I just want to see Dallas go out and get someone who's gonna set a tone, create a culture, who isn't just gonna kind of fall into the classic Dallas. We produce a bunch of players out of our academy. We make a bunch of money, and we're a pretty bang average team for the most part. Like, that's just what I don't want to see. Go get an Eric Ramsey, sure. That's gonna completely change how you play, motivate, and push you guys into the next tier. Don't just kind of accept the average, right? Go with the Petar Musas. Go with the next kind of.
Yeah, don't go, oh, it didn't work. All right, back to what we know.
Exactly. You got it there. All right, cool. Let's keep it moving. Let's take the steps into the rest of the transfers and MLS moves going on right now. I'm gonna quickly roll through some of these, Jason. If you want me to stop and interrupt me, but we'll go from there. So I'm gonna go just in chronological order of how these moves kind of came about. But the LA Galaxy, they've transferred a midfielder, Daniel Aguirre, to Liga MX side Chivas Guadalajara. The 24-year-old central midfielder came up through the Galaxy system in 2021, and he's been on the team since then. He's only had about 10 appearances this season. He has about 100 games in total in his career between the Galaxy and the Galaxy 2 and everything like that. I think Tom Bogert said this best. I'm just going to keep it at this. For a player that you never really had the expectation of playing for your first team, seemingly like what this case is, transfer him on to a team that you can kind of pigeonhole the market with a little bit, with a Mexican-American player, get some cash, and move on. It seems like a pretty easy signing there for that. The Columbus Crew, they have signed attacking midfielder Dylan Chambost from Saint Etienne, who just recently earned their promotion back into Ligue 1 this past season. The 26-year-old has played his entire career in France so far, playing for Saint Etienne and Troyes. This past season, he scored 6 goals and 7 assists across all competitions. He's previously won a Ligue 2 title back in the 2020-2021 season with Troyes, whatever. And he has 142 career first-team games with 11 goals and 16 assists, adding a little bit of midfield depth to that Crew team. The Crew also have gone out and they have signed attacking midfielder, another one, Aziel Jackson from St. Louis City SC for $650,000 in general allocation money, with a potential for another $250,000 in GAM, and maintaining that St. Louis are going to maintain that sell-on percentage if he sold outside of MLS. But the 22-year-old attacking midfielder has been a stud when he's played in MLS Next Pro in kind of the previous seasons. He has 18 appearances for St. Louis this season with an assist, and he has played about 50 games right now in his Major League Soccer career. He was very strong last season for St. Louis off the bench, and he earned himself a January camp call-up and invite, and he got a cap a few minutes against Slovenia in that 1-0 loss there. So Columbus adding midfield talent, all with the reports that Aidan Morris might be gone to Middlesbrough soon enough. He'll probably play again from things that I'm seeing for the Crew, but I don't know how many more games Aidan Morris is going to have in a Columbus Crew uniform. The reported fee there from Tom Bogert is going to be $4 million plus a sell-on clause as well. So Jason, any Crew takes between Chambost, Aidan Morris, and Aziel Jackson?
I really like the Aidan Morris move for Aidan Morris. I think that's awesome. I think that's a really good spot to go, just to see him get, and like we've talked about a lot with transfers from MLS with young American players. First of all, it feels like Aidan Morris should be like 28. Like the amount of games I feel like I've seen him play is crazy.
Two-time MLS Cup champ, Aidan Morris.
He's what, 22?
20. I was about to say 24. I don't think he's even 24.
I don't think he's 24.
Aidan Morris is 22 years old.
Yeah, crazy, dude. Like, I think like the sky's the limit for him at this point, and getting a transfer now where it's not like a 22-year-old who's like, oh, wow, this guy seems, he's got a ton of potential. Let's get him over there and see what he can do. It's actually like, oh, this guy has a ton of potential. We've also seen him do so much already. So, yeah, I like that. I think bringing in more depth for Columbus, I just trust them what they're doing.
It's weird because I don't think Chambost. I think it's Chambost. I could be wrong about that. So I'll learn it by the time we see him play. But for a Crew team, I don't think him or Aziel Jackson are Aidan Morris replacements to me. Like, it doesn't seem like that at all.
Unless they're trying to change the way they play.
Maybe. I'm leaning more towards like Sean Zawatsky, who's been very good this season for the Crew, is going to kind of be that Aidan Morris replacement next to Darlington Nagbe, and that Jackson and Chambost, they're going to kind of be maybe just some rotational attacking depth up front. Maybe Aziel Jackson's going to kind of play as like a right wing back in that, or like right midfielder in that role. But it just seems like more depth, and then they're going to kind of figure out things with Morris and who's going to be that partner for Nagbe soon enough.
Yeah, I think just seeing where they go now, especially after all the moves in their front office recently.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see this team kind of work in their own way.
It's weird how much this team has changed after the CONCACAF Champions Cup loss. Like, this is almost going to be a completely new version of a team that's starting like mid-season. And we said this last week, I have faith in the Crew front office and the people who have been around and the people who are still there. And Wilfred Nancy, obviously, but I am going to be interested to see what Columbus does, and obviously, last game day taking down NYCFC, who they were on their own little undefeated run as well. So
a lot of those past front office guys too probably had their hands on these moves a little bit.
100%.
And last year we saw them make a pretty massive move with Zelarayan, and it worked out pretty well. So
yeah, and that's why I'm saying I have faith. I just want to, you just have to kind of see how it unfolds. I think Columbus will continue to be a strong side. And look, personally, I also really like the Aziel Jackson move. The dude's a ball of energy. He's super talented. He's only 22 years old right now.
Big 26 and 22 is a huge plus.
100%. 100%. I don't know. Jackson to me seems like a guy that Columbus could move on from and sell to Europe in a few years' time as well. I'll stick with that as well. When he left Minnesota, or when Minnesota transferred him to St. Louis, I was a little surprised about that one. I like his talent a lot. And speaking of St. Louis, they've transferred left back Nicholas Dyer to Randers FC in Denmark. The 23-year-old left back joined St. Louis this past January. He's only made 5 appearances, and now he's gone. So, Nicholas Dyer, thank you for your cup of coffee in Major League Soccer. To me, I don't know if it was like he got outplayed by Anthony Markanich, or if it was like he just, home situation, wanted to get back and just be back in Europe, closer to family and stuff. We see that a bunch when it comes to these foreign guys coming to Major League Soccer. So don't know what it is. I'm not going to sit here and say like I know what it is, but just some cases that we've seen. Let's talk about the last 2 big moves here in Major League Soccer terms. Your guy, your pick for the MLS Golden Boot.
Yeah, I'd like to switch it to Chicho Arango.
You get one mid-season flip.
I'm gonna do a one-time switch.
Can I get a one-time switch for my Golden Boot pick? But Atlanta United, they did sell DP striker Georgios Giakoumakis to Liga MX side Cruz Azul for a reported $10 million fee, reported by Tom Bogert. The 29-year-old Greek international joined Atlanta in February of last season from Celtic, and last season was an all-star, won newcomer of the year, was a best 11 in 2023. And, this year he had 5 goals, 3 assists with Atlanta. He's going to finish his time with 24 goals and 5 assists in 43 games. Not a bad little goal to game or goal contribution to game ratio there for Giakoumakis and Atlanta. But where does Atlanta go from here? Because now it's like Almada having a mixed, iffy season, doesn't make Argentina's Copa roster. I think there's potentially doesn't make the Olympic roster for Argentina. Giakoumakis is gone. Where do you think Atlanta is? This like just a given up season, given up stretch, and now they need to readjust?
I mean, this one was kind of a bummer for me. I really like watching Giakoumakis. Dude, he's just fun to watch.
He was a baller striker.
Yeah. Yeah. Where does Atlanta go here? I mean, hopefully they make a signing. Or they had some plans, but yeah, the Almada situation is so weird because he's so good. And at one point, it was like, oh, they gotta sell him, and they had the potential to sell him for a lot of money. And it feels like that hype kind of wore out now. And it's like, I don't know. I think at this point you try and get him back into that top form that he can get to, and then maybe try and sell him. But I thought he was gone before last midseason.
Yeah.
And now we're a year on from that. So a year and a half later from when he really splashed, he's still there. This is like the 3rd transfer window, maybe 4th, since we were really talking about him leaving. And it's probably the least confident I have that he will move on.
Because this has been the worst that he's been playing, and he's not even playing that bad. I'm going to sit here and not try to sound so pessimistic about him. He's playing fine, but he wasn't playing to the level that everyone's talking about. Largest transfer fee in history to big name clubs globally. He's not at that level right now.
Right.
It's.
I mean, he's not like the $30 to $40 million player we thought he could be.
No, not right now. I wouldn't say that at all. It's just an interesting piece, right? Because Pineda's gone. Now you sell Giakoumakis, Almada down production wise a little bit. This organization still will spend the cash. This organization still has Garth Lagerwey as their president, who knows a thing or two about winning in Major League Soccer. But you need to start, I think, putting these pieces together. And I'm going to call this a little bit of a wash of a season, unless they really do surprise me this summer.
Unless they can turn things around like crazy. But yeah, they're 13th in the East.
100%. I just don't know how you turn things around unless you sign a high-level DP striker immediately that Almada can connect with. You bring in a manager that can kind of just right the ship for a season, and you potentially get back into the playoffs, and then next year kind of just take it the step forward from there.
Yeah.
I think that's the obvious goal and the obvious what anyone would wish for, but I do think that this roster needs a reset. If you ask me, I'm not, as I'm looking at the depth chart that I have for it, I'm not the most confident right now with Atlanta United's roster and where they have, I think, some pieces going.
You sign a big name player, maybe doesn't need to be big name, but good player. Have half a season to kind of get that team to start gelling, and then you go into next season with better expectation of the team. Potentially is their way forward, but yeah, this season it's going to be very tough for them to turn it around.
Do you sign I'm assuming, right, their third DP spot's going to be a striker because it was Josef and they couldn't figure out striker until Giakoumakis came around.
Right.
And I really hope it's a pretty short window this time to figure out the next striker for the next big time goal scorer for Atlanta United. But do you think that comes before or after the manager is signed?
Oh, I thought you were going to say before the end of the window.
I mean, I think that's pushing it, but maybe.
I would hope after.
Let this next manager have his say on who it is. Fair enough. I think that's fair enough.
Especially if it's a DP, like let the manager have some say in arguably the three best players on the team.
Yeah, 100%. Or what should be the three best players on the team?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk DP9s. Let's transition down to the Houston Dynamo, who signed a club record DP striker in Ezequiel Ponce from AEK Athens. The 27-year-old Argentinian last season obviously played for Athens, and he scored 16 goals in 38 games. He's previously played for the likes of AEK Athens, Spartak Moscow, Lecce FC, Newell's Old Boys, Lille, and Granada. So playing in some pretty big leagues across the board there. He has 79 career goals and 15 career assists in 295 career games. I mean, Houston are spending cash these last few seasons. I feel like we've said it a few times in the past, year, 18 months.
Hey, they got a taste of success, and they're all in.
they're ready to break spending window or transfer window, cash after cash, and it's Hector Herrera. It's now this Ezequiel Ponce. I'm all for it. Let's go. They're probably going to make a shit ton of money off Coco Carrasquilla soon enough as well, too. So good for them. This is exactly what Houston needed. Houston needed a 9 that can put the ball away, that can be the fit around Artur, around Ace Carrasquilla, around a pretty decent back line as well, and Griffin Dorsey and Amin Bassi. This is what I think teams that are on that borderline of, are they top tier in their conference? Can they make an MLS Cup? This is what they have to do. And again, is Ezequiel Ponce going to work out in Major League Soccer? I don't know. Is he a profile that does work in Major League Soccer? 100%. And this is giving it the shot for this team to make it out of a Western Conference and play in an MLS Cup this year.
This is also, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. You stole the words right out of my mouth. This is a team that scored 20 goals so far this season. Every team above them is a minimum of 6 above them. And then you have Real Salt Lake, who's 16 above them. So, it's a high rate. That's one Chicho Arango above them.
Ignore Chicho Arango, but yes.
So maybe they just got their Chicho Arango.
If he is, Houston's flying high. That's all I got to say.
I mean, I think that's like the idea is bring in a guy who can get. I mean, their goals for is down with some of the not so great teams in the league. If you're looking at just the West, they're tied for the least amount of goals scored in the West, which is kind of crazy that they're sitting in seventh. They're tied with Dallas, actually, interestingly enough.
I just think it shows how good defensively this team has been, in all
Well,
honesty.
yeah, I mean, their defensive goals is 20 as well, and that's second best in the league, tied with LAFC, and then Salt Lake's on 19, or not in the league, but in the West.
Yeah.
So it's like good defense. Just get a goal scorer who can connect up with your guys and really make an impact. And they're honestly like, there's not a huge amount of holes in this team, and this is like they're filling that hole.
100%. I mean, really, this team is simply missing a striker. Sebastian Ferrara, I don't think is the answer. Technically, as of right now, Houston does have 4 DPs on their roster, so I think they're either going to have to buy down Ferrara, or they're going to have to buy down Eric Svitchenko, their DP center back right now, which is probably easily possible, and they'll be fine. But Ferrara is not the answer. Gabe Siegel, I love him. Former NYCFC dude. He's not the number 9 that's going to lead you to the promised land in Major League Soccer. And they've been playing Sebastian Kowalczyk up top, who's not a striker. He's kind of like a winger, attacking midfielder. And I think they've just kind of been playing him there because they need a body there. If Ponce can be that dude and produce you, I think, even 10, 12 goals when you're talking about a full season span, I think this team currently constructed is very good. That does rely on Coco Carrasquilla being there, though. That does rely on, I think Hector Herrera playing at a high level at a little bit of an older age, so like there are some things there. I don't think this is a giant window for this Houston Dynamo team to be amazing, with just in the case of needing Carrasquilla to hit before he's sold, with needing Herrera to continue to play at a high level.
Yeah,
but I think
retires or whatever.
Exactly. But I think that this team currently constructed, if it stays the same, I'd say they have a season or 2 season window of being pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, they were top 4 team in the league by the end of the season last year. I mean, the semifinal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things go their way this year, you could see them in the final. I don't know, winning MLS Cup, not too crazy.
Let's do it. We're holding it down, Jason. Hold it down. Come on. Let's finish it up. Do you have any major concerns about? I'm going to give you one or the other. Let you take it, and we'll wrap it up. Julian Carranza to Feyenoord, or Obed Vargas is applying for the one-time switch from the U.S. to Mexico. What are you more concerned about? You can tell me neither, too.
I'm not really concerned about Obed Vargas. I think we've talked about a lot of dual nationals. We've had the conversation, and I've been pretty on the side of you're going to lose some, but you're going to gain some. And I think one of the things Greg has, coming back to that, has done very well, and what we've said before, is getting dual nationals like Dest and many. Musa, I think, was also dual national.
Yes.
So to me, it's like, that's unfortunate, but for him as a person, I think he probably has a better shot at this point with the Mexican national team for getting real minutes.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate. Like, I'm not thrilled, but it's just kind of it's just part of the dual national setup.
Yes.
You're gonna lose some. I think I am a little concerned with the Union. I think this season they have been a lot less consistent, a lot less Union-like, to put it as like an adjective.
A lot less doopy,
Yeah. So that would concern me. I hope we are talking about some moves for Philly pretty soon, because they're right on the edge here. They're in 8th place. Some of these teams, DC is really not like that bad if Benteke can keep scoring at the rate he's doing it. The Fire,
they're hot, baby. They're hot.
I mean, they started getting some points here. Like, I can't rule it out. And then you have Montreal, who's right on the. I mean, it's still early enough where the lower table is kind of condensed, but yeah, Philly, I would be more concerned with.
I agree with you.
The most long-winded answer.
I think Philly has some concerns if Carranza's gone because Ure not really producing as a high level striker. Daniel Gazdag, I think he's not that he's only successful because of Carranza, but I think he definitely benefits from the success of having a high level striker playing in front of him. Are the Jack McGlynn's of the world there for the long term? Stuff like that I do have my concerns around the union. Yeah. But also, if you're gonna sell Carranza, do it, make some cash, and invest that back into the team. That's all I gotta say there. Jason, let's finish it up. Give me your pick for. I mean, no one's gonna.
Yeah, I was thinking tonight would be tough. I do think
give me the weekend pick.
Well, Miami versus Columbus tonight's gonna be a banger.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm tuning in for that one specifically. I mean, probably most of them, but that one specifically. Yes. For the weekend, I was looking. Which one did I? Oh, I was also going to say tonight, NYCFC versus LA Galaxy. See, there's some good games tonight.
Let's go.
The weekend I would argue is a little bit weaker. The Red Bulls versus Toronto would probably be my pick. Or, I think I've given the LA Galaxy versus RSL. This is the second time they're playing, I feel like.
Can I go Cascadia, Portland, Vancouver? That's always fun.
Yeah.
Not that it's super highlight, I think, worthy, but I think, there's
in
enough
Portland, though? Oh, no. Wait.
In Portland. In
Portland is definitely a solid pick there. Definitely a solid pick.
I like it. Portland. All right. Well, it is Copa America time. It is Euro time. It is still MLS time, and I hope everyone enjoys watching all the soccer out there. MLS teams are going to be hurting a little bit with some players gone from international competition, so hopefully we see some of these clubs still be able to right the ship and not fall off too hard with some of their
who has built some good depth.
Exactly. But thank you all for listening. Jason, thank you for recording. I hope Shaqiri didn't score a hat trick in the meantime.
It's 1-1 still. He does have a goal now.
He's going to score the winner. That's it. Thank you all for listening.
Fine. I don't care. I'm over it. Hey, the Fire are playing way better without him. So.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, let Brian Gutierrez cook. That's all. Yeah. That's all it is. Let Guti cook. But no, thank you guys for listening, for watching. Catch you guys next week. Oh, I have to end the recording over here.
Nice.